Hello there, and welcome to an introduction to delivering learning online for secondary educators. My name is Heather Ryan, and I will be your host for this webinar today. Today we will be looking at ways to deliver content using the Content and Lessons tool for secondary educators. We will be spending most of our time today looking at the technology that will support the ability to deliver that online learning. The content of the webinar should last about 30 to 45 minutes, but we have booked the full hour just in case we run over time. During the webinar, like I said, we will be looking at a very introductory look at how to create and deliver content to students, and the majority of the webinar will be centered around an instructional demo of the content tool used in Brightspace. Again, my name is Heather Ryan. I am a customer success specialist with D2L. I've worked for D2L for the past couple of years where I support K-12 clients with their use of Brightspace. Prior to my time working with D2L, I worked primarily in an elementary panel while living in Seoul, South Korea for 11 years. The last 6 years that I lived in Seoul, I taught grades 4 and 5 at an English immersion private school in Central Seoul. On the slide here, you'll see that I've included my Twitter handle. The reason I've included that is because I often post tips or tricks or tool update announcements and releases, or upcoming events that D2L might be hosting, such as a webinar series that we held last week, and we will be hosting a new series starting next week as well. So if you're looking for information about upcoming events from D2L, you can find some of that information on my Twitter. If you have any questions today relating to the presentation or the use of Brightspace at the Calgary Board of Education, please direct them to desire2learn@cbe.ab.ca, the email that's located at the bottom of the slide here. Your support team will be able to answer any of those specific questions for you. A couple housekeeping items this morning before I get started. So firstly, I'd like to just highlight and note that all question and answers and chats have been disabled for the presentation today. That's because our time together is quite limited, and I do want to direct it to the actual technology and the tools themselves. Any best practice questions or specifics to CBE should be directed to the Brightspace support that CBE has in place for you, and that email address that I gave you before and appears right here can be used to reach them. And then finally, I just want to highlight that this session is being recorded and it will be shared directly with you from the Brightspace support group at CBE. They will have both the recording as well as a copy of the slide deck. So any of the resources that you are seeing in the presentation today with quick links and whatnot, don't worry, they will be available to you and you will be able to reference them as you move forward with your practice, and they will come out to you following today's session. So just going to hop in here. We'll have a quick look at the agenda and what we're going to be covering today. So in our agenda today, we're just going to have a quick look at the current state. We're going to talk a little bit about Brightspace and what some of the terms are that are surrounding it. We're going to look at the bulk of our session today will be about creating content and how that looks inside Brightspace. And then, of course, I just want to highlight a few of the resources. I won't go into a lot of detail about what they are, but they will be linked in the slides and you'll have access to them at a later time. So let's dive right in here. One of the things that D2L wants to assure our educators and our customers is that we are here to help. And it's not only helping by providing the online platform and some resources and training, but it's also trying to help by taking some of the work and the pressure off educators as well. So what we're hoping to do as we continue to move forward is continue to collect stories and resources and put them all in one space so that you have access to them as you're maneuvering and navigating through this, but in a much more kind of all-in-one location than having to go to them for yourself. We know that this is a global phenomenon and we're supporting schools and teachers across many countries, and we hope to be able to share stories and applications and use cases as we move forward. But most importantly, what we do want to reassure you is that we are here to help, and if we can, we will. As we move forward and we start to dive into the online learning practice, we have a few things that we should consider as educators. Some of the most common ones that we kind of hear about and we talk about are listed here. So with content and resources, whether you're starting from scratch or you have experience teaching online in the past, being able to pull together and share your resources and content is going to be very important, especially as the times seem to be moving so fast. Using a platform that allows you to pull your resources together into one place for your students to best support their at-home learning navigation of content will be a great benefit to both you and your students. Online learning is a valuable resource in times like these, but we have to be considerate of devices and internet access for our students. As educators, we always need to think about our students who may not have internet or may not have devices available to them at home. For those learners who have older devices or computers at home, it is important to make sure that we are not over-focusing on apps that rely on having the newest operating systems. Brightspace, for example, offers and uses responsive web design to offers offline content access to ensure that more learners can access materials from anywhere. We are also seeing communities pulled together in these times where they're providing free devices, hotspots, or even internet to our most vulnerable learners. This is incredible to witness. Parents are also navigating this new world, and they are trying to balance their work, whether it's from home or if they're still going to their place of employment, with supporting their students. It is important for us to make sure that we consider how much support guardians can provide and choose online tools that will communicate and relay content to them all in one easy place. Accessibility and equity are always very important focus points for educators. As you look for online tools, it is important to consider whether or not they will meet the needs of all learners. Tools like Brightspace that are WCAG compliant means that they can be used with screen readers, for example. Accessibility and equity are very important to D2L, and we take pride in being best in class for being able to support all learners. Security, privacy, and personal information are always at the forefront of educators' thoughts. If we're asking our students to use online tools, it's important that we make sure that their data is protected. Tools like Brightspace that have a license with a district or a school board have been properly vetted and can offer that reassurance. D2L also never owns teacher or student content. And finally, using synchronous versus asynchronous learning. Having synchronous lessons like video conferences is a great tool and can help us to create an online community that is more engaging for our students while we are learning remotely. Keeping in mind, though, some households only have one device that children might have to share. So having an online lesson plan that allows for asynchronous learning, which might include physical activity breaks or household schedules, will be important. Today, we're going to focus directly on the technology, but know that we're also keeping an eye on the educational resources that are out there to help with support. Here are some of our favorites that we've collected over the last week, maybe two at this point, to highlight for you some of the work that's been done. So we see some from Ontario, some from New York, and then a couple of our textbook publishers that are providing resources as well. Okay, so that has us kind of going through the current state. Next, we'll move on to some of the words and terms surrounding Brightspace. So let's have a look here. First one we have is D2L, and D2L is the name of our company, but it is often interchanged with the name of our product, which is Brightspace. So just to clarify, I always like to use the analogy that of Apple. So Apple being the country and the country, Apple being the company and the product being their iPhone. And then if you kind of even dig a little bit deeper and you think about the apps that are available to you, those are like the tools that would be available to you in Brightspace. So the apps are what you use to do your work, and the tools inside Brightspace are the same. And then the final one here would be looking at the Brightspace community. So Brightspace community is an online community that connects both clients as well as D2L experts on a variety of different planes. So It may be from a specific tool question or a need for assistance. It may be requesting for use cases or help with a particular problem that maybe a client is facing and needing some advice on how to maneuver. Basically what it is it's a community space where we can all rely and support each other to make sure that we have the best practices moving forward. It also houses any of our documentation, whether it's video tutorials or handbooks or working guides for educators, and any of those pieces there that may help to support you moving forward, you can find inside the Brightspace community. So that highlights both our current state as well as what is Brightspace. And that's going to leave us moving into creating content. So the bulk of what we're here to learn today. So I'm going to go ahead and skip forward here to our learning objectives. So by the end of today's demonstration, you will be able to create a new unit and a new lesson. You'll be able to add materials from a variety of different places. I will show you how you can preview the student perspective, as well as post items to your course homepage and hide content from learners. Whether or not you're hiding the content from learners because it is something you want to release at a later time, or perhaps you have a folder or a unit inside your content tool that's acting as kind of like your virtual teacher binder in a way. So where you're keeping all of your resources to be used at a later time. So I'm just going to go ahead here and switch over to my workspace so that we can get started here. So let me just pull this up. There we go. So when I log into my virtual learning environment, it's going to bring me to the main page for my organization. So one of the things about D2L that you'll notice is that every organization, school board, district has a different appearance. And that's because D2L is completely customizable to suit the different groups that may be using the platform. So it can be totally personalized. You may see the Calgary Board of Education logo here. So your space will look a little bit different than mine. I'm going to go ahead here and click into my Brightspace Classroom, which is my demo environment, and it's going to bring me to my course homepage. So course homepages, again, they can look a little bit different. This is the list view across the top of the tools. However, there is an alternative view that does offer the icon view, and that is, again, customizable for your organization. When I'm in my course, I'm going to choose the content tool, and that's where I can do exactly what you're thinking, is build up the content for my course. So we're gonna hop right into my course and have a look here at the content tool. So what you can see here is a course that's already had some content built into it. So was never an art teacher, so don't judge me on my diagrams here. What you see here is a bunch of units that have already been created. Now you'll notice that the units are all color coded here, and this is customizable and changeable per organization. So if it's not the rainbow that you're seeing here, it may be customized by CBE to be able to reflect a little bit more of the personality of the organization. Today we're going to be working with a few different things. So we're going to be creating a unit using this wonderful button here, as well as making lots of use out of this blue add button that's over here as well. Just a few things that I want to call out. So this is what a space looks like when there are units that are already created. If I flip back over here to where we were looking at the icon-based piece, this is what the content tool looks like when there are no units currently built out inside it. So you'll see here that we're missing the blue add button because there's no units created for anything to be added to. But what I would do to start my process here would be to use the new unit button, which would generate one of those color-coded chiclets that we saw in the other piece. So for our purposes today, we are going to go ahead and work inside a unit or inside a course that already has some units built into it, and that's just so that I can highlight a few of the pieces that are here for us to work inside. So one of the things that I just want to call out is that you'll notice showing in some of our units, we have a couple that have no, they're missing the white arrow that you might see here inside reading and writing, or social studies or math or teacher resources. And what that white arrow tells us is that there's content inside the unit. So here in this first one, welcome to our virtual classroom, I can click on this unit as much as I want, repeatedly, and nothing will open up here because there's nothing inside it. It's just basically like a file marker. However, if I click down here and I look at the reading and writing unit and I click on the piece here, I'll see that it expands to show me some of the content that I've already built out inside it. So what you see is the units that have content in them, they can expand and show us what that content is that we've created inside it. So for example, in this math unit, you see that it has a couple lessons, it has a game web link attached to it as well. So there's a few things that are built out inside it. However, in daily resources, again, there's no arrow there, there's nothing inside it no matter how much I click on it. The other piece that I'd like to call out here is this little waffle that we have here, and this is just a drag and drop organizational piece that we're able to use to just rearrange the order of the units that we have showing up in our list here. So it just kind of lets us reconfigure or reorder the table of contents, for lack of a better term, that's here, just gives us that organizational piece. Now, what we're going to start with is creating a new unit completely from scratch. So to do that, I'm going to choose the button here that is called New Unit. And this unit is going to be our art unit. So inside our art unit, we are going to, I'm going to show you how to bring in a variety of different pieces today and how they can be housed inside the unit. Now keep in mind, these are just recommendations or ideas that you can use. There's no right or wrong practice for how to build your content. You're going to do whatever is going to work best for you and for your students. This is just meant to be a instructional demo of how that may be. So again, we're inside our unit. This is the first kind of landing space for content creation. And I like to kind of think of this as being sort of like your title page for the unit. So this is a place where you can put your information in, and you can put some details for your students. So again, we're giving this unit a title, and then this area here allows for us to add a description. So this is our Learn from Home Art unit. Now, when we're inside our workspace here, we have this entire HTML editor that allows us to change and alter and edit the work that we're doing. So I might want to bold this and italicize it just to make it a little bit more visual for our when it goes through to our students. We do have some additional features there and drop-down options for you, so you can go ahead and look into that and explore that as you want to moving forward. One of the things I always like to call out when I'm looking at the HTML editor is the fantastic tools that are inside it that give you some ways to make your content a little bit more engaging. So this little button here is actually named perfectly, I think. It's one of my favorite button names. It is called the Insert Stuff, and that is exactly what it does. It helps you to insert stuff directly into your content. So you see you have a variety of options, and I'm going to try to show you how to use a few of them today to just highlight some of the availability of the tools inside. One of the first ones that I'd like to go ahead and highlight here is using Video Note. And Video Note is a wonderful tool that allows us to create, hi everybody, create videos for our students. So it could be used to provide instructions, it could be used to provide actual like a demonstration piece if that's something you were doing, or it could be used just to simply engage with your students in a way that puts a face to your name, puts a face to your course, and lets them see you. Which one of the things that we hear a lot from both teachers and students is how, especially over the last few weeks, it's just how wonderful it is to see each other's faces and to really have that interaction with each other. So it can be a really great opportunity for you to engage with your students and let them see you. Now we do know that, of course, webcams are not everybody's cup of tea. So you could do some other pieces here. Maybe you just want to have it audio and you want to cover up your webcam. You could use a Post-it so they can still hear your voice. Another consideration too is where your webcam is filming. So a lot of teachers would maybe not want their home environment in the video. So you could simply use a plain background to be able to assist you with that. We've also heard teachers draping things behind them, whether it's a sheet or a blanket to help with that neutral background as well. But that's completely up to you. So I'm going to go ahead here and just click on the new recording. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our art unit. I hope you're as excited as I am. And again, that could be as long as you want it to be. D2L has, well, not as long as you want it to be. D2L has expanded the length of our video notes. It used to be a 3-minute time frame, but due to you know, the transition towards online learning, we've increased that from 3 minutes to 30 minutes. So it gives you the potential to give a lot longer, more detailed instructions, or potentially even a lecture in some way, and an instructional lecture using the video note tool. Now, what you see here is the opportunity to add a description, and they're useful to help our students who maybe can't view the video. You can give some details here. So it's completely up to you, again, how much you can or how much detail you want to provide here, but I'm just going to call this an introduction. Art unit. Now at the bottom here, or sorry, at the bottom drop down here where it says audio language, what we're going to do is we can choose the language that's most suiting. So I'm going to choose English Canada, and what I have the ability to do here is toggle this on to automatically generate closed captioning for my video. So if I want that to be captured in closed captioning based on those languages, and it'll do it for me. So I'm going to hit next. It'll give a moment here for it to just get ready to insert. I'm going to go ahead and insert it directly into my unit so that it's going to be visible there. And it is going to display and show directly inside my unit piece. And then I'm just going to hit save so that it comes into my unit. And what you see there is that my instructions built directly into my unit page, so that it's embedded right in there for my students to see. Now, when we look at this new unit here, we see this blue rectangle highlighting around the unit. And what that does is shows me where or what unit I'm working inside. So as we continue to build out and we have more content in here, it's always important just to have those little visual reminders to know where we're working. So I've built my unit, and now I'm ready to add in some content to it. So I'm going to go over here to my blue add button, which is going to give me the next step available to me. So in my next steps here, I'm going to go ahead and create a new lesson. This is a layer of organization that allows me to kind of chunk my lesson pieces into, or sorry, chunk my unit pieces into lessons that I'm able to use as a way to help me with releasing it to students and to planning forward as an instructor. So I'm going to go ahead and look at the new unit that I'm building here. And what we're going to be building, what I'm going to be working on inside my art unit is a virtual learning portrait. And again, I'm able to go ahead and bring in a variety of different pieces here. So one of the things that I would like to, that I'm going to do is, oh, sorry, I need to just add in. I'm going to add in my little bit of instruction there, and I'm going to save that. This is again like my title page for my unit, or sorry, for my lesson. So I've just added in what it is. My students have an idea. I see that blue highlight around my lesson, and that's where I want to be working here now. So now we're going to start adding the content directly into our lesson. So I'm going to go over here to my add button again. Now you'll see you have the option here to add in a new folder. This is another layer of organization that you can use. There are no limits to the amount of folders that you put inside your lesson. You can use them as many as you want. It's completely up to you, but you do not have to use them. I'm going to go ahead here and highlight a few things, a few different ways that we can bring in content. So again, we can go ahead and create that HTML document, which allows us to create our content on the fly as we're moving forward. We have a few other pieces here that we can use to dive into as well. So we can add some web links and some information from a Google Drive or OneDrive, which I'm going to show you how that works. We can bring in some assessment practices that maybe we've already created and we want to bring in as well. So just for our first purpose of bringing it in, we'll start nice and easy. So first way to bring in some content would be to drag and drop or to use the browse function. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and just use the content, some of the content that we have created already. And I have a PowerPoint that I'd like to bring into this piece. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that directly into my course here. So it just takes a couple seconds for it to kind of render and bring the document in so that it can be saved inside the content piece. Now, again, that can be drag and dropped and brought in, or you can upload it using the browse function as well. I'll just give it a second here while it renders and pulls that content in and makes it nice and visual for us or for our students. When we're looking at our ways to bring in content into our folder here, I'm just going to talk to the Google and the Office 365 piece. So both of those are integrations that bring the content of your, or connect the content of your drive with your Brightspace experience. So once you've logged into your Google Drive, for example, and you've integrated and you pull that in here with your Brightspace, it will automatically use a Google Picker to be able to go into your Google Drive and pull that in. And from the Google Picker, you do have the option to change your drives as well. So that'll be an important piece here as we go forward. So this is just continuing to upload here for us. We're almost through it, and then we should be able to see it directly inside of the content tool. Seem to be having a bit of a lag here with our Wi-Fi today in Waterloo, Ontario. It's awfully gray and rainy, so got a bit of a delay here. Oh, here we go. Okay, so now we've brought in that content there, and we'll see it rendering here as our update. So the PowerPoint slides will all be visible for our students to look at and reflect on. So we are still inside of our virtual learning lesson, and we're going to add in some more materials here. So I'm going to go back to my blue add button. So here's that Google Picker situation that I was just briefly talking to. So once we go in there, we can click into that. It'll bring up our Google Picker, which will log into our Google Drive for us. And then we'll see the content that's there. We can pull in information from that to help share with our students. In the event that you have more than one Google Drive account, you can change it here by just logging out and logging into a different drive. And the same workflow works for a OneDrive integration as well. So I'm going to go ahead and call the next little piece here. We're going to call it instructions. And in this piece, I'm just going to show how we can bring in and embed a couple of pictures directly from our hard drive as well. So we can go ahead and we can upload them here. So I'm going to add in my directions or instructions for my students to be able to look at. Now what we see here is the ability to provide alternative text. And what the alternative text box does here for us is it allows us to put in some instructions or information that would convey the details that are showing on the image. And this is used for screen readers. So it would be important to make sure that any of the accessibility pieces were in line with the context you were putting in as the alternative text. So you may copy and paste your instructions, you may give a description as to what the picture is, or if it's simply a decorative picture, you can just click on here and it won't require any alternative information. So these are the project instructions. Now you may want to give those in full detail. You may copy and paste the instructions that are in there. That would be completely up to you. You could also record a video note of you giving the instructions and refer them to that. So I'm just going to go ahead and save that here, and I'm going to see. So now I can see the picture for my instructions is right there, and I'm just going to add in a second picture here that I maybe want to have my students see as a demonstration of what I can do. So we'll just go ahead and add that in there as well. So you can see here at the bottom, I've got these two pictures. I've got my instructions, and then I've got a sample of what I've done, and I'm going to go ahead and save those in there for my students. And those pictures will render really nicely there for them to view and to work through. So those are there for them as well. Now I'm not quite finished. There's a few other pieces that I'd like to have here to just engage with my students and help them to work a little bit with a little bit more focus, I suppose, is a great word to put it on. So the next one I want to do here is show you what it's like to grab a web link and to bring it directly into the environment as well. So what I'm going to do here is pull in this article here. So so this entire project is developed around the Daily Bread series from an artist who took photos of the food that children eat in a week and took their a portrait of the child with the food. And this is actually a project that a former colleague of mine in Seoul did with her students at the Seoul Foreign School, where she kind of repurposed the Daily Bread project for things that were important to their students while they were working, studying remotely at home. So that's where this entire project comes from. So what we see here is, now that I've got my display name there, I have the option to choose whether or not the article is embedded on the page or it opens in a new tab. So these options are completely up to you as an educator as to what you'll see working best for your students. To be embedded on the frame means that the content of the website the link that you're putting in here will be embedded directly into the frame of Brightspace. However, if you choose to open it in a new tab, it would result in the students having to navigate out of the Brightspace environment to that location of the link. So it's completely up to you, but for our purposes today, I'm going to keep it embedded in the iframe, and I'm just going to go ahead and save that here. Additionally, you could be pulling in, well, it's not going to let me embed it, so we'll have to go ahead and do it in an open link. So this is what it would look like if it was inside an open link. And actually I do have, just if I scroll down here in the math section, I can show you here. So this is a dinosaur measurement game, but this is what it looks like when a link is built into an iframe. So as you can see, it brings in the content of the website directly into the environment, whereas this one, the student's going to have to open and link out to a different web page to be able to get that content. And then this could also be done directly from YouTube as well. In the event that there was a YouTube video that you wanted to pull into your content, you could do that here, pulling in using the website, or in the insert stuff option, there is a YouTube picker that allows you to pull directly from YouTube and search from YouTube as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and save that here, and it'll bring me my YouTube video, and you can see how it's embedded directly into the content tool here as well. And then additionally, one final piece to look at here is we're going to go ahead and come back again to our lesson. I'm going to hit that add button, and I just want to go into the more activities piece here. Now, as Secondary educators, you're probably building out assignments and drop boxes and a variety of other things that you may want to include. So you can choose to include things like your assignment drop boxes, checklists, discussion tools, and you can bring those directly in here as well. Your rubrics, if you're doing an evaluation, all of those pieces are there for you. But you can also go ahead and do things like schedule your virtual classroom. So maybe you wanted to have it for this assignment, maybe you wanted to offer your students the chance to get together to brainstorm and talk about their ideas and what's important to them, and have that kind of that virtual meeting option. And this is a place that you can do that and bring it directly into your program. So we'll just call this brainstorming. And maybe we want to have it today at, we'll scroll down here, we'll say 3 p.m. Here we can do the max duration. So maybe we only want it to be a 30-minute session. You have the ability to record it or choose not to publish the recording, but I'm not going to. Allowing external participants, again, I'm not going to, but again, these are toggle on and off for you. I'm going to invite my entire class, and then I have the choice to repeat it on a weekly basis for an extended period of time if I want to, or it can just be a one-time opportunity. So I'm going to save that, and it'll bring it into my meeting pieces for me, into my virtual classroom pieces for me, where I can bring that into my class here, or into my lesson here. So now that's down here showing as well. So I've added in some content as far as some photos go, so that they can see, or sorry, the PowerPoint goes, so that they can see what I'm looking for them to do, and they can go through the entire lesson to get an idea about that. I have put in my instructions. I've given them a web link, a YouTube link, as well as a virtual classrooms link. So I've built out a fairly detailed lesson that's here for them. Now, one of the things that you'll be maybe looking at this and asking yourself is, if I'm looking at the virtual or welcome to our virtual classroom, there's no I with a cross through for it, yet my entire art unit seems to have that. Reading and writing, social studies, and math don't. Now, what that shows is that the content for my unit has been hidden from my students. So like I mentioned earlier in our during the series here, that we have the ability to hide content from our students. And what that means is that it's just not visible to them yet. We haven't released it to them in full detail yet. So I can release an entire unit, or release it a lesson, or I can even release individual components to a lesson and make them visible for students. And it's very simple to do. It's just a matter of changing this little toggle from hidden to visible. And what that allows me to do is to release all of that, so that when the student logs into their environment, they can see the entire lesson, the entire unit currently that I've created, or the entire lesson. Or I can release them individually at certain points as I see fit. But for our purposes today, we're going to go ahead and let everything be released there. Now, if I get looking through my content and I start to realize that maybe I made some mistakes that I needed to have corrected, I have this ellipsis over here that I can click into that gives me some editing pieces, as well as gives me the ability to delete and remove content from my course if I want to, or to reorder it and do some of the editing pieces that are here. Now, one of the things that I want to call out here is the ability to post to the course homepage. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to post my PowerPoint here to the course homepage. By clicking on this 3-point ellipsis, it gives me that drop-down menu and allows me the opportunity to do that right here. So I'm going to click into that, and it's going to come up and it's going to ask me if I want to have a message. And this message goes directly to my activity feed. So we are starting. So this can be as detailed and specific as I want it to be. I have a condensed version of the HTML editor here that allows me to do a couple different things, basics inside it. And I can also throw in an emoji here if it's something that I want to do to make it a little bit more engaging. Now, activity feed is designed so that it resembles or mimics social media feeds. So it does allow for the commenting piece from students to be turned on and off. Depending on what your assignment is, may depend on whether or not you want to have that commenting feature on. But it is toggle on and off based on your preferences. So because this is the instructional PowerPoint, I don't really need my students to be having a conversation or with each other on this, but this might be a really great opportunity for them to ask a variety of questions that I can basically answer in one place as opposed to fielding 30 emails. So I could put that here. If you have questions, please share in the comments below. So then now my students know what I'm expecting of them inside the comments piece, and they can go ahead and do that for me. Down here, you see that I have the blue post button, or I have the post later button. So again, this is another feature that allows those of us who plan ahead to be able to do exactly that. So maybe you're getting ready for the week ahead on Sunday, and you know that you want to have daily reminders go out in your activity feed every morning. So maybe you set this here for to go out tomorrow at 8 a.m. or at a Thursday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at a later date. You can schedule those to go out at that time. But for our purposes today, we're just going to post now so that it goes directly into our activity feed. And the reason I want you to see that is I want to do that is so that you can see what it looks like. You'll notice that that arrow there just confirms for me what was posted and when. So that goes out right there. So I'm just going to go ahead here and post a home page. And we'll put a couple of these out there so you can see what they look like. Now, in the event that I had created something, actually, well, we'll just go ahead and show you here. I am going to set this one so that it posts at a later time. So let's, so we'll just go ahead and do that. I'm going to post it for, let's see here. We'll just drop that down. I'll say 2 o'clock and we'll say schedule a post. Now it's going to confirm for me when it's posting and we're going to save that there. And what we'll see here is our our paper airplanes here showing the ones that have already been gone. And then this one here, the little timer, shows us that there's a scheduled post to be going out on a later date or and for us, it's a later time versus a later date, but that just shows us that it's there for us. Now, as a teacher, I may be wondering, how am I going to look at this from a student perspective? And that's a really simple thing to do. So what we do is go up here to where it says, and in my situation, it says K-12 educator. That's because the teacher in my name is creatively named first name K-12 and last name educator, but this would reflect your name. So mine would, and if I was an educator at CBE, mine would say Heather Ryan here. So you just click on that and it drops down and it gives you that option here to view as a student. So if you click into that, all it's going to do is take you into a default student perspective so you can see what that looks like from your student view. So it's just going to log it in here and give you a quick look at what the home page will look like. So we see that there's a planned post that's coming up here and it'll tell me kind of when that's coming. So it gives me a bit of an idea of the schedule. So that would be that post that's coming this afternoon. We're also going to see the posts that have come in here. So you have the content of what it is, the instructions, and then the link to the piece. So again, you do see here that it's showing the comment section that's available, so that, and in the event that students were commenting in there, that we would have that feed available. So just gives us that kind of running commentary sort of approach to announcements that are there. If I click into the content tool as a student, it's going to bring me to the student view. And what this one is a little bit more of a kind of a table of contents view as to the units and content that's here. So it's going to show me things that are in progress. So the memory game was something that as a student I was maybe playing or using earlier, so I could continue on that, or I could start looking into new materials. So what you see here, this is the unit that we just built out, and it's showing it as complete. Again, this is a default view, not an actual student view, so it's just meant to give us a visualization as to what that looks like. But it also gives me a little bit of a show here as to what I've already worked on and got through, and what I have to work on still. So it's showing me what's complete or not complete, or gives me an idea of what that looks like. So just to give you a demonstration of the view for student, here is the PowerPoint that I added in. Now, it looks like I have some formatting issues, but that's a great, this look at viewing as a student lets me know that I have to go back in and make some adjustments to my PowerPoint so that it does aggregate properly and fit well. So, but I can scroll through here. My students are getting all the contents that I've built out. They're also able to flip through the content that's available inside the unit. So this would be the second piece where my students are able to see the content of the photos that I highlighted in here. The next one, we send them into that article that I want them to read that has to open into the new window. So when they clicked on that, it would open up the article for them. And they could continue their reading. And then here is the YouTube video that I brought in that shows the time lapse of my old colleague actually creating her very own virtual learning portrait. And then it gives me that invitation here for the release for the brainstorming piece. So as a teacher, I can confirm and see what my students will see and make sure that it is what I want them to be building on or to work on. And then if I needed to go back and build or edit any more content for it, I'd be able to do that. To exit out of the student view, you're just going to go back to your name at the top, click into that and X the student, and it'll take you back into your teacher experience, where you would be able to see the same kind of view, same kind of look that they have on the home page, but a little bit different in the content page where you're doing your building for yourself. So that is a very introductory view as to how you can use D2L's Brightspace to help you deliver content. Now what I'm just going to do here is bring back up my PowerPoint. And we'll just confirm our learning objectives today. So today we learned how to create a new unit and to create a new lesson. We learned about adding materials from different locations to make for a more dynamic and multimedia-based lesson. So we learned how to bring in from a web link and use YouTube. We used VideoNote to create our own web instructions. We brought in some photos as well. We looked at how to view from a few students' perspective and post items to the course homepage. And of course, we covered that ability to hide content from learners. Moving forward, I would suggest that you give it a try. See what you can do. See if you can create the new unit, the new lesson. Try and bring in those different pieces. See if you can get your Google Drive or your OneDrive integrated so that you're able to pull those pieces from your drive as well. So you're not recreating something that you've already done. The whole idea, work smarter, not harder, right? So if you already have those materials, let's see if we can bring them in a nice, easy way. All right, well, that takes us over to our agenda again, and we can check off that creating content piece. I'm just going to go ahead and highlight a few of the resources that we've aggregated here and brought in for you. So the first one here we have is just some resources from D2L that you can use to help support your practice, including some planning support as well as tutorials. I've included the VLE, which is the virtual learning environment, which is what Ontario has branded Brightspace as. They've created a variety of kind of 1-minute workflow videos that are wonderful, short and digestible pieces of instruction to help you to continue to expand and look at the way you can use your learning moving forward. And the final one at the bottom there, the D2L education webinars, is a series of webinars that were introductory webinars rather that were offered in the last couple of weeks that you can reference. The recordings as well as the slide decks are available there. And next week there will be an additional series that's being offered, and that content will be available on that website as well. If you are hungry for more, don't worry, we are here for you. we have gone ahead and aggregated a variety of resources here. Now, again, remember the slide deck as well as the video recording today will be shared with you. So you will have access to all the links that are provided here. So don't worry about that. What we've done is we've brought in some of the most commonly used pieces to help support you moving forward. And we've tried to aggregate them into themes. So keep in mind that the pieces that are here are not set up to based on user level. They're set up on themes and how and the kind of the application of the tools when looking into it. And we know that there is a lot of content on the resource screen here, as well as all the tools can be a little bit overwhelming in Brightspace. It is a very robust learning management system. We do recommend that you pick one. Start small to go big. So pick one tool and get your head around it and figure out how you can use it and apply it to your practice, and then begin looking at expanding and moving out after that. So one thing at a time, right? It's what we tell our students. It's what we should tell ourselves. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. And that brings us to the end. So I just wanted to thank everyone for joining me today. As I mentioned at the beginning, we know it's a stressful time. And as we move forward, really hope that you find confidence in your remote teaching practice. And if D2L is able to support you in any way, we will hopefully be able to share continued resources and whatnot with you. So again, remember that the video recording from today and the slide deck will be shared with the Brightspace support at CBE so that they will be able to share it out with you once it has been received. And finally, I just wanted to thank you for your sharing your time with me today. I hope you stay safe and you stay well and you have a great day.